Hey guys, as many of you may know, the addition of the PVM hub has somewhat devalued and made the Max Guild a less desirable place, and a significant portion of the Max players in RuneScape 3 have felt as though the Max Guild is irrelevant now that the PVM hub has extra boss portals, a bonfire boost, altar bank, and even adrenaline crystals. So it has made the Max Guild seem as just a better alternative to the Grand Exchange, which is something that needs to be fixed. There needs to be some more value added to the Grand Exchange. So after spending hundreds or even thousands of hours of working towards reaching level 99 in every skill RuneScape has to offer, you should unlock something more valuable than this. So my name's Silenced, and today we are going to be taking a look at some possibilities for the Max Guild rework. So before we jump into the rework ideas, this video was inspired by Aaron Wilkinson and his Reddit post discussing Max Guild ideas, including an expansion in the Max Guild to add a Max Guild basement. So let's start off by taking a look at some of his ideas. So first off, he has proposed adding 2 new trapdoors that lead to the basement. Now in the basement, he proposes many different things, so let's look at the concept art that he did provide. So in this basement of the Max Guild, he does propose adding a cape stand, which can be used with a true 120 skill cape. This is a pretty interesting idea. It does add another barrier to entry. Rather than just getting a 5th cape stand, you will need a 120 skill cape in order to put the cape on that stand. So this is a pretty interesting idea. Personally, I don't think it would add too much power creep, since most of the capes do just provide some quality of life benefits. For example, you might put the Invention skill cape, Slayer, or Dungeoneering skill cape on this stand, and all 3 of these capes, they do provide some pretty good benefits, but they are definitely not broken. Slayer and Dungeoneering provide some teleports as well as some other useful benefits for their respective skills, and then Invention provides a lower drain rate and better uncommon component chance when disassembling, which of course isn't really broken at all. So basically, only the defense, strength, and ranged capes would provide really good benefits for PVM, which is where most of the power creep does seem to happen. So I really do believe that adding another cape stand, allowing you to use 5 of the max cape perks, wouldn't be too broken, and it is a pretty good idea to add to the Max Guild. The next idea that we will take a look at is the Slayer portal. So as someone who loves Slayer, I obviously love this idea. The portal could even be reattuned to a specific Slayer creature for a small fee. And another idea would be that it could send you to your active Slayer task. I think that is a pretty good idea as well. But I think this idea fits really well with the Max Guild, because even though it is a PVM related portal, Slayer is still a skill, and the Max Guild should promote a little something from every skill you have maxed, and this would of course represent Slayer. I do really like this idea. It is an idea that I have thought about since we got all those boss portals in the PVM hub. I think adding a Slayer portal would be really awesome, and basically just be a really nice quality of life feature for Slayer. It wouldn't be too broken either. It's not like you would get extra fast transportation times and stuff like that to and from creatures, since there's so many teleports in the game that you can already get to basically any creature pretty fast. It'll basically just make it a lot easier and more efficient way of getting to your Slayer tasks. Now, a few other designs that Aaron placed was an Invention workbench and an armor repair stand. I really like the idea of both of these. They're excellent ideas and just basically a quality of life thing that would add a nice benefit to the Max Guild. Of course, it does sort of represent skilling and all that. You do have your Invention workbench. I think the repair stand will be super helpful. Maybe even adding things like a forge and an anvil. That would be a nice idea to place in the Max Guild as well. I'm not sure how big we would want this expansion, but I think having a little bit of something from every skill would be kind of nice. And then next we're going to look at the Saren altar. Now this is a really interesting concept for the rework. This altar not only restores your prayer and summoning points like the chair upstairs, but will also grant you immunity to poison and possibly even dragon fire for a certain amount of time. So this is a really interesting concept. Of course, it will definitely need to be balanced, and it might be a bit broken at first. So I'm not sure if this would actually be possible to go into the game, But it is a really interesting idea, giving Max Guild players sort of a altar that gives you immunity to poison. It is very interesting. I'm not really sure if it does fit in the Max Guild though. Personally, I think the Max Guild should be a skilling hub, which would obviously make it different from the PVM hub. I think adding an altar that does provide immunity to poison, it would sort of devalue the PVM hub a little bit, which is not what we want to do. We want to make sort of a skilling hub somewhat different than the PVM hub. So for this reason, I don't know if a new best in slot altar does fit in the Max Guild. It would be really useful for just Slayer tasks, of course, but it does seem very powerful for bossing and PVM related activities, which is why I think it would be better suited in the PVM hub if it was something that did enter the game. A few other ideas that Aaron had was adding 2 new farming patches, whether it be for trees, herbs, or mushrooms. Mushrooms being the most practical idea since it is in a basement. I think that adding these wouldn't hurt. Maybe avoid adding a herb patch since it is really good money and it could devalue some herbs somewhat. But I think adding a tree patch and a mushroom patch would be just fine. Now, the last idea that Aaron did talk about was adding a new D&D. This would be a monthly D&D. It is an interesting idea, but obviously would need work on balancing with its rewards and stuff like that. He discusses the rules of this D&D in the bottom left of this concept art. As you can see, it is a sort of an interesting idea. It involves some skilling activities as well as sort of a boss fight. So there is a lot to it, and he does recommend or suggest offering a clue scroll reward, which would be a pretty interesting reward, as well as some just various XP rewards. Overall, I don't know if a new D&D is something that we need, especially a D&D that is locked behind the Max Guild. Some ideas that I did see when researching this was possibly adding a D&D portal, which could teleport you to any active D&D. I think this would be super helpful. We do have tons of D&Ds in the game, so I think a portal that could teleport you to basically anyone would be super useful, especially Herby Werby. It is in the middle of nowhere in Anachronia. That would be a really nice benefit for the Max Guild. Now, there were also many other proposed ideas that I did find in the comments, and also just while searching some Max Guild improvement ideas. I also have a few of my own ideas that I do want to mention, so we are going to discuss some of those and some of the better ideas that I did find. So first off, one idea that was pretty popular was adding a skilling outfit stand, or even multiple of them. So what these would do is it would allow you to store your skilling outfits here, but while it is on the stand, it will provide its passive effects. So it's a lot like the cape stand, except instead of putting a cape, you put your skilling outfits. I think this is a really, really good concept. Now, I think it is a very realistic idea as well, and it fits really well with the Max Guild since it should be focused on skilling, and of course, adding a skilling outfit stand fits really well with that idea. I'm not sure if adding multiple stands would be too overpowered, but obviously this is something that the mods would need to look at and would need to balance. Another really intriguing idea that I did read in the comments was adding a permanent incense burner where you would be able to choose which incense would be active, and you could start a timed or permanent benefit from it by clicking on it. So I think this is a really great alternative to the bonfire that the PVM hub does have. It's sort of a nice skilling alternative to the bonfire, which fits really well with the idea of the Max Guild. So maybe you could even upgrade the incense burner with 1000 of the incenses, sort of like how you upgraded the bonfire at the PVM hub. And this idea would need some balancing, of course, because there are a few overpowered incenses like Torsol, which gives you extra XP, Quorum provides weapon poison, and there's Dwarfreed for a Sign of Porter type benefit, as well as a few other really powerful incenses. So of course, this will need to be looked at and balanced if it does enter the game. But this is definitely a really interesting idea, and definitely one of the better ideas that I did find when reading the comments. I think that it would work really well at the Max Guild if it was balanced in some sort of way. I also found many other general suggestions, like adding more portals to skilling locations added to the Max Guild, a lot like the Max Garden portals outside. Also, a few other ideas were the ability to swap your magic and prayer spellbooks at the Max Guild, maybe even your archaeology relics as well. Also, an NPC that decants potion and crystal flasks would be really nice too. This was recommended multiple times. I think all of these things are some pretty good things to add to the Max Guild. They're all just sort of some quality of life additions. Now, the last idea that I wanted to quickly discuss is the idea of adding a permanent portable skilling station. And this could possibly be changed to different ones for a fee. So this would be a really interesting idea in addition to the Max Guild, although it might be a little bit broken, a little bit too overpowered. And this sort of leads me into my final point. I really do believe that the biggest challenge I think the JMods will have is making sure that they don't make the Max Guild too overpowered, which would again make it seem as a requirement to be a functional player within RuneScape 3. Now, although everything mentioned in this video is just an idea coming from myself and the community, JMods have shown an interest in reworking the Max Guild, and they have been looking for suggestions. ModRaven posted this to the forum in about January of 2020, asking the community for some ideas to rework the Max Guild since it was recently just devalued by the PVM hub. Now, although a rework isn't confirmed, we do know that they have been at least thinking about it. A few things that he mentioned being really important was to watch out for devaluing existing content and avoid making the Max Guild a requirement and not vital for endgame content. Also, he does mention to consider skilling over PVM, so we will need to think about all of these things when thinking about the rework and ideas for the Max Guild. I do believe that a lot of the suggestions that I did mention in today's video did sort of follow those guidelines. They're more focused on the skilling aspect of the game, and they shouldn't devalue any existing content. So when you guys are thinking about some rework ideas, definitely try to keep those points in mind. Now, with all this, I ask you, what do you want to see in a Max Guild rework? Comment your suggestions down below, and also what are your opinions with all of the ideas I mentioned in this video. I really look forward to seeing what you guys are looking for in a Max Guild rework, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.